Hey Josh, this is Beth Lackey, Elizabeth K. Lackey, one of your classmates, and I really enjoyed listening to and watching your presentation just a few minutes ago, and had some really good content, I thought, in your presentation. I felt like major strengths observed in the presentation were clarity of the presentation. I felt like you were really clear. I like the way that you as the speaker interacted with the audience, and I like the quotes that you used in the presentation. I thought that was a way that you were able to connect with the audience. I also thought that the statistics you provided around nonprofit organizations was very informative. I like the organizational management component, and I thought you were very clear in your presentation. Some of the feedback that I did want to give you was, while I think the overall presentation was well thought out and I really liked the quotes that were used, I think that one of the things that your presentation could be enhanced through is a slide deck. I'm a pretty visual learner, and so I think having a slide deck while also seeing the speaker, and this is just something that I really have thought about through this project, that visual aid helps enhance that presentation experience. I think that without that slide deck, if you don't have the background information or experience with nonprofit organizations, that it might be a little hard to follow. And so I think that's just an example of a tweak. That's just a very small thing that gives your audience a little bit more clarity. Just a suggestion for future presentations. I thought overall this was a sound presentation. One recommendation that I would make was maybe limiting the use of the term NPO and maybe substituting that with the organization once you establish that it is an NPO that you're talking about. That way you're not overusing NPO as a term. I think that I understand that was the topic, but that's just a suggestion. And again, showing a PowerPoint may help illustrate the point for more visual learners. I like the issues that were raised in the presentation altogether. I also like your connection with culture and that approach. I like the tangible approaches that were illustrated. The steps were clearly communicated. The example that I thought about during your presentation was your reference to strategic marketing step. Also, the fact that managers need to understand their stakeholders, thinking and behaving for target groups and targeting practices. I found this part of the presentation really interesting and liked the examples that you used. I thought that it would be helpful to show more details in this area. It did make me want to read your research paper, so I think that's the point of the presentation. One thing that I am curious about as a question is what marketing strategies can be employed given limited resources in order to gain efficiencies while meeting these strategic objectives. As you mentioned earlier in the presentation, nonprofits don't have a lot of money laying around, so I thought that might be an interesting question and illustration to weave into your research project. Overall, nice job. I thought it was a sound presentation. Thanks for sharing.